Hey everybody, and welcome to Q&A Wednesday, where I answer the questions that you have about your health and fitness goals. Now, first of all, let me apologize. You probably hear my little space heater in the background. It is super cold in my studio. So it's really hard to heat it out here, and my daughter keeps stealing my bigger space here, so it's this little teeny thing that's trying to warm up my room. But have a really great topic today. One of the interesting things that people talk about is that they just kind of constantly feel crappy, and so we're going to talk about the reasons why you might feel that way and maybe some things to do to change that, because that's super important. I don't know about you, but especially right now where we're all kind of concerned about the health of everybody in our country and around the world, we all wonder, what is it that's going on that we can do to improve, right? So part of this is just making sure that you are living your life to the best, most healthy, efficient way that you can possibly, I guess more optimal versus efficient, that you possibly can, because who wants to feel like crap all the time? And sometimes it's just some minimal reasons why you might feel that way. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Hopefully you are staying warm. Obviously we're having some issues across the nation with not enough energy, so just phenomenal. My blessings go out to Texas. Hopefully they figure some things out. But so let's talk about why might you constantly feel crappy. Now, again, this is actually kind of a little bit from experience of when I was younger, and thought that just when I would eat, feeling bloated and crampy and gross kind of was normal. And now I realize, no, that is not normal. That is not how you should feel when you've been eating. That is usually a result of not eating very healthy. So that's actually not the first thing I want to talk about, though. There are many reasons why you might just nominally feel crappy. And the first one is that you might, and the biggest one, to be honest, is that you might not be getting enough quality sleep. So, it's really interesting that in this day and age, especially in our country, we feel like, the less sleep that you live on, the more heroic you are, which is absolutely incorrect. And people don't understand that sleep trumps everything. Like, if you don't get enough sleep, there is no benefit to exercising. You're only going to get moderate effectiveness from eating correctly, because your body doesn't know what to do with it. It's really running on empty. So there's so many things that happen when we sleep, that sleep is more important than anything else that we could possibly do. And unfortunately, we're not really taught why that's super important. So let's talk about the few things that are supposed to be accomplished while we're sleeping. And number one is memory storage. It's kind of like, if you've ever worked in an office where everybody goes home at night and the staff comes in to clean, right? Cleaning service comes in to kind of clean things up, empty the garbage, put things away, whatever. That's what happens at night when we sleep, is that, our body does some very efficient things where it put some things away in temporary storage or short-term storage. It puts some things away in long-term storage. And when we don't accomplish enough sleep or enough quality sleep, because some people fall asleep and they get 8 hours, but it's not optimal sleep. And we'll talk a little bit about that too. Our body doesn't accomplish that. And so you might wake up and forget things, kind of like, when you were in college and you would stay up all night to study for a test, and then you'd wake up the next morning and can't remember anything that you studied the night before. It's because your body did not have time to recuperate and do what it needed to do. So that is a big part of what happens when we sleep. The other thing is our body rests and recovers when we sleep. There's a big deal about recovery when it comes to a lot of different things. First of all, any of us that lift know that we don't build muscle when we actually lift. We build muscle when we sleep and recover. So our body actually repairs tissue. It cleans up some things in our body that can actually cause damage and be toxic to our system. If you've done any research on what happens when people work like night shift, there's a higher incidence of disease in people who have night work, because number one, they're not following the circadian rhythm, but two, they're not getting phenomenal sleep or the best sleep that they possibly can get. And so these things are not happening. The proteins that are need to be broken down and put away, and things that need to be cleaned up don't happen. So, if you've ever just stayed up way too late and then tried to get up the next day and do the things that you're supposed to do and be at your best, it's really difficult to do. So, not just not getting enough sleep, because that happens more than it should. I went for several years really struggling to get 5.5 hours, and I think I kind of lived in a fog for the entire time. Now I can sleep plenty, so things are good. But there's definitely something there with not enough sleep, but then not enough quality sleep. For those of people who like to eat really super late at night or eat right before bed, I've done a lot of research on that because I've had people ask me, well, should I stop eating? Is there a certain time I should stop eating at night? Yes, absolutely. Your body cannot digest and do all those recovery things it needs to do at the same time. So what ends up happening is your body's actively trying to digest, and so those extra things don't happen. So, I do try to finish eating at least 2 hours before bed so that my body has time to digest, so that all of my bodily functions, my hormones, everything can switch over and do the things it needs to while I sleep. Fat burn. You actually burn the majority of the fat at night. So yes, you might do it when you're doing cardio, but there is something to be said for the amount of fat that you burn after a day's work and all the things metabolically that you do in order for that fat to actually, believe it or not, exhaled while you sleep. Also, hugely supports emotional health. Again, there's some major things that have to happen. I find it fascinating that everybody kind of equates, if you've ever gone to the doctor and then your doctor sends you to a specialist and then a specialist and then a specialist, it's really frustrating that we don't look at our body as a whole and that all of those different things are intertwined. So when we don't get enough sleep and we don't get enough of the right foods and we don't, there's certain things that have to happen, and then we don't equate the fact that we are depressed or that we have aches and pains in weird places. Those things all are overlap in what's happening within your system, and so that you have those effects happening. So keep that in mind. So, getting enough sleep is going to support your emotional health. It also helps to suppress your hunger hormones. If you've ever not slept very well one night and then you got up and all you want to do is eat all day, your body is trying to make up for the fact that you don't have that energy reserve. The other one that I thought was really phenomenal, they talk about memory storage. They talk about how it allows neurons and nerve cells to reorganize, and that's part of the memory as well. So phenomenal things happen while you sleep. That is super important. So we talked a little bit about not eating before bed, maybe getting rid of that blue light. If you like to watch TV or play on your phone or an iPad before bed, get some blue blocking glasses. If you struggle to get enough sleep, there are things that you can do. I can't remember what they call it. It's like a sleep schedule where you actually set yourself up for optimal sleep. And I think that that's a great idea. And also allow enough time for sleep. I think that's super important as well. I know some of you are night owls and it's really a struggle to do that, but really it comes down to what's important to you. All right, number 2, dehydration. You might feel like crap because you're just not getting enough water, and that makes it very difficult for your body to work optimally, right? So, and it's not just water. Obviously, it's the electrolyte balance, which also includes magnesium, potassium, calcium, and some trace minerals. But, that is a big part of it. And some people think, well, I'm drinking soda all day. Yeah, that doesn't count, people. Technically, those are toxins. So, coffee does not count towards your water intake as well, because the caffeine tends to it can cause dehydration. So make sure that you're getting enough water throughout the day. Stay hydrated. When you are dehydrated, you will notice a reduction in physical performance. It reduces your optimal health in general because your body just doesn't work as well. It reduces cognitive function. I don't know about you, but I get a headache. So the first thing I have to do when I have a headache is I kind of go through a troubleshoot checklist. Have I had enough water that day? Have I had enough nutrients that day? It can also result, when you're dehydrated, in dry skin and wrinkles. So ladies, I don't know about you, that is not for me. Let's stay hydrated because our skin will look much better. All right, number 3, lack of nutrients. It's phenomenal how people don't know how their body functions and why their body doesn't work optimally. And it's because usually people think, well, I'm eating plenty of food. Yes, but are you getting vitamins, minerals, and nutrients in the foods that you currently eat? Because without them, you are malnutritioned, and there are definitely derogative effects from not getting enough of the things that you need, right? Are there just diseases that are caused by not getting some of those vitamins and minerals? But definitely your body just doesn't function as well. So, for those of you that increased depression, you definitely don't have an optimal body function. It's kind of like, for people who are like, well, I think I eat healthy, but are you putting premium gas in that sports car? Or are you putting really crummy gas that's just not running optimally? So that's kind of the difference between, eating food that's just okay and eating food that your body really needs. So I could go into some extended information about whether or not even the healthy foods in this day and age are healthy, because of course with our soil that's depleted of all its nutrients, there is some issue there. But even just making the right steps to eating the right kinds of food, the whole non-processed food is obviously going to be your best option. All right, and I know you're sick of hearing that, but I'm not going to stop, because I'm annoyed at how incredibly horrible in general the food in our country is, the standard American diet, and that people don't understand that that is usually the start of where they should be looking and why they're not feeling good. All right, food is medicine, but it also can cause disease depending on what you're eating. All right, number 4, toxic ingredients, and that can be in your environment, like the air. That definitely can be in your food. So if you're eating things that contain a lot of additives and preservatives, technically those are toxins, and so your body just doesn't function as well when it's trying to deal with those. It has to protect you from it, so it deals with that first, and then we don't run optimally. So again, pay attention to what you're eating, what you're putting in your body, the air you're breathing. If you're eating a lot of sugar, I know you don't want to hear it, but sugar is addicting, and it does have detrimental effects to your system. Even things like vegetable oils, those are not great for you either. Now we're talking the ones that are processed with chemicals, not necessarily extra virgin olive oil, different ballgame. But even things that can be in our water bottles, like the BPAs and things like that, do have a detrimental effect on how you feel, and that can make you feel crummy. So going into the next one, which is your environment, we kind of talked a little bit about that. But this is even not just your physical environment where you are. I mean, think if you've ever been in a house that you found mold, yeah, that can be a big issue into why you're feeling crummy. Not just then, but for years to come. So keep that in mind. But also, what about your mental and emotional environment? Are you around people who are being good to you? Or are you around people who are, really toxic to you? You got to put yourself in a place where you can be healthy, not just physically healthy, but mentally and emotionally healthy as well. Or your job. I know that's a rough one for some people. They don't feel like they have an out, and maybe their job is just toxic on how they feel and how they function. So yeah, I can feel for you on that one. Number 6, stress. Stress is something that we're all going to feel to a certain degree, but in this day and age where stress can actually be chronic and just kind of a low grade issue, that cortisol that our body completely continues to release trying to deal with that does a couple of things. Unfortunately, it prevents us from burning fat, but it also over time can actually cause adrenal fatigue, or your body just can't keep up with it anymore, and of course you feel super crummy. So if you're not sure which of these are actually affecting you, it's really important to find a professional, whether it's a medical professional. I really, at this day and age, prefer a functional practitioner, which basically is a doctor who's more holistic, will look at you and try to figure out what the bottom line problem is versus throw a bunch of medication at you to try and fix the symptoms. Figure out what your problem is, because once you figure that out, you can usually solve that with a protocol that's more natural and not, something that is super invasive. So keep in mind that if you're super stressed all the time, you're really probably going to struggle to feel good and to not feel crappy. So whatever it is that you feel like is the problem, like I said, sometimes you're going to have to sit down and troubleshoot. And if you're unsure, hire a professional. That's what they do. And if you're not sure of what professional, ask around. I'm the one person, I don't tend to hire anyone, go anywhere. I want people to actually recommend people to me so that I know. And I've come up with some really good people on my team, meaning, my doctors, my massage therapists, those kind of things that were right from the get-go versus trying to find a bunch of people and then, kind of the trial and error, which is not my favorite, because then you spend a lot of money on things that don't work for you. So it's okay to check into some professionals, see what works for you. But if you start with the basics of getting enough sleep, get enough water, get the right kinds of food, those are usually going to solve a good portion of the issues. But if not, you can look a little further and extend into that. We really need those critical thinking skills to be able to solve it ourselves. We are our own best advocates. Your doctor doesn't know you as well as you know yourself. So sometimes taking that internal, okay, this doesn't feel right, or this is kind of my intuition on what might be the problem, take that into consideration. Your body knows that something's not right, and you should be able to tell that from that. So hopefully you can figure it out. I know we're in such a weird time of history where there's a lot going on, and it's a little scary to see where we're going as a country. So, do the best you can, stay healthy, stay happy. Don't forget, self-care is super, super important at this point. Take care of yourself, take care of your head, take care of your spirit. Those things are phenomenally important. So have an incredible week, you guys. I'm back to hopefully normal schedule. Like I said, freezing in my studio in here, but we will have another Facebook Live on Saturday, Meals with Melissa. Got some great recipes. Some of them are from my clients. They have come up with some really, really great ideas, and I love that. Don't forget, if you have a question that you would love me to answer or to look into, you can either leave a comment below. You can also message me directly at Facebook Messenger. I do respond. Don't use my old page. I do have a personal training page that I don't really utilize very much anymore, and every once in a while somebody messages me on there and I don't see it. So make sure you're either using this page or my personal page. I do respond. So have an incredible week, you guys. Please stay warm. Please stay happy and healthy. Make sure you are doing everything you can to be as optimal as you possibly can, because I want you to be happy and healthy. Have an incredible night, you guys. We'll see you soon.